to Warped Tour. Like, there's no Warped Tour stories in this book. How are you gonna be Hanna Beth and not have any stories about Warped Tour? Hi friends! Okay, so the time has finally come for me to review Covered in Glitter by Hanna Beth. And I have my notes on my phone, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. And if that bothers you, I suggest you just have this video playing in another tab and you pretend it's a podcast and it's all good, okay? I won't be offended, okay? Alright, so before I get into my notes, I just want to say, like, opening thoughts about when I bought this book. I was so excited because this book, the first time it came out in 2016, I didn't get it. It sold out too fast. Then she restocked this year, and I finally was able to buy it. Starting off with my number one pet peeve. So when you go to her link in her bio to buy this, it doesn't tell you how many pages it is. You just kind of see it like this. So you don't know that it's literally not that long. And I'm not saying she should have said her whole life. Okay, obviously she's entitled to keep whatever she wants to keep private, but there are just some things in this book that are like, sometimes it feels like she's about to spill her whole life and then she just stops. Like, she's like, that's it, that's all I want to say about this. And I'm like, okay, fine. But then she moves on to another part of her life. Everything is obviously in chronological order, but what bothered me about this book is that she doesn't date or like subtext, or I don't know how to say it, but like she doesn't put timelines onto when she's talking about stuff. So it gets really confusing when she's just like, when I was 7 this happened, and then when I was 15 this happened, and I'm like, girl, you're making me do math. And as someone who doesn't like math, it bothered me, okay? My next point is that she doesn't mention key people, okay? And by key people, I mean Audrey Kitching's not mentioned, Demi Lovato's not mentioned, Trey Cyrus is not mentioned, who else? Derek Whibley from Sum 41 is not mentioned. I believe the only people she mentions by name are Maud's son, aka Derek Smith, and Chris Zyka, aka the dude she was engaged to that it didn't end up going anywhere. And I just thought that was interesting. I just thought that was an interesting choice, because to be someone who was so known for who she was friends with and then she doesn't mention any of these people, I'm like, girl, so kind of what's the point of reading this? Like, it was interesting to hear about her childhood and her teenage years, like before MySpace, but then there just comes a point where she starts talking about MySpace, but since she's not mentioning Audrey by name, you're like, okay, what happened during the MySpace days? Like, there's really no fun stories or fun tea or like any gossip or anything. Like, nobody gets mentioned. So sometimes in the later years, it feels like she's just like jumping from I was 15 and posting on MySpace to now I'm 18 and I don't know what to do with my life. Like, it's just weird because it's like it feels like she's kind of missing chunks of her life, if that makes sense, because she won't mention people by name, which again, I'm not saying she has to, but like, what I'm saying is it would have been easier to follow if she would have been like, yeah, in 2005 I met this girl named Audrey and we became friends and then we started modeling and blah blah blah. Like, it would have been easier to follow like that. Okay, now getting into my notes, because I have a lot of notes. So again, this is the part of the video where you can just have it playing in another tab and I won't be offended. Going back to Hannah and Trey Cyrus, this is my first note. It said, I've always been fascinated by Hannah and Trace's short relationship, so I was hoping there would be a moment where she would be like, I started dating this guy Trace. His little sister Miley is very famous. Here's what happened at her birthday in Nashville. I will insert pictures here. Like, I wanted stuff like that. Like, just little, maybe not entire chapters dedicated to like her boyfriend or Audrey or Demi. Like, I didn't need a whole chapter, but it would have been cool to be like, then this happened and I met this guy named Trace and Audrey and I went to Warped Tour. Like, there's no Warped Tour stories in this book. How are you gonna be Hanna Beth and not have any stories about Warped Tour? Please, like, sorry, what? I think that's the most, like, that's the thing that pissed me off most about this book, because it's like, girl, What are you trying to do? Like, you know your core audience is the people that are always in your comments being like, oh my god, I love you, been following you since MySpace. Like, where's the correlation? Where's the correlation, Miss Hanna Beth? Absolutely no mentions of Warped Tour in this book. So yeah, I just wanted more. I would have just, going back to Hannah and Trace, I would have just wanted more, like maybe a line or two about, I met this guy named Trace, his sister is Miley, this is what happened at her birthday party in Nashville. Like, in that era of Hannah's life where she was kind of not like a social climber or whatever like mean term there is, but like there was that time in her life where she was like, there's her with Miley Cyrus at Miley's birthday, there's her with Demi Lovato. Like, in that era of her life, no mention. So my biggest pet peeve about this book is how short the chapters are. And to prove this to you, I will be showing. Okay, so this is chapter 8, and this is how, like, this is the longest chapter that there is. This is about, I'd say, 9 pages. The shortest chapter would be, like, okay, like, chapter 5. Chapter 6. Literally, and 2 of these are drawings from her journals, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed getting to see her journal because she actually would date them. So I'd be like, oh, you wrote this in 2008. This is what you look like. You wrote this in 2010. This is what you look like. Like, it was appreciated from a visual standpoint because I could remember, like, oh, that's what she looked like, and I could, like, imagine her sitting on her bed surrounded by her, like, DVDs and her Hello Kitty stuff, just like blah 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 blah, and I'd be like, yeah, I can imagine you doing that. But that's the thing about this book, is the chapters are very short. At most, a chapter is maybe 2 to 3 pages. It's all very fast, and again, there's not that many stories, if that makes sense. So as Hannah explains in the book, she doesn't really like school, so I guess that kind of makes it work. Like, the short chapter, she just kind of like, this is all I have to say about a certain point in my life, which she's entitled to, but I'm like, also like, girl, you've lived a life. Why does it feel like you're skipping over chapters of your life? You know? So for someone who claims to love writing, I didn't really get that from this book until we get to the journal entries. Here's what I will say. Her journal entries, that's when I start to see why people were like, oh my god, I love your writing. Because, yes, she really does, like, come alive in her journal entries and her, like, little drawings that she will put. Like, I feel like I understand who she is. Like, she's a good writer if she's doing it privately, if that makes sense. Or even probably, like, on her MySpace when she would just yap in her bulletins. That probably was good, like her just yapping and it made sense or whatever. For her to sit and write an entire book, I don't know, it just really, I don't know, I feel like something got lost in translation, because she is a good writer in the journals, but when she's doing these chapters, I'm just like, girl, I don't think you like writing. Like, the structure of her sentences are very, like, short and very just, like, again, the chapters are 2 to 3 pages long, so it's like very, like, just wrap it up. Like, she doesn't give us a lot to visualize, a lot to work with, a lot to be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Again, it all goes back to, because she doesn't mention certain people, it's hard to see it in my head, you know? As much as I'm, like, airing my grievances and, like, I don't like this about this book, I do enjoy this book. I did like it. I like the way it ended on a positive note. I like the way everything is so choppy and so to the point that we literally know that she didn't have a ghostwriter. Like, she sat down and wrote this book. We're getting back into the fact that she doesn't mention anybody famous. Again, it's a weird read because the only people she really mentions are the non-famous friends. Her friends like Ray, who she's still friends with, who she met in 8th grade. And it's just like, girl, you know, you could have mentioned some other people. in a way, I guess I kind of understand, because even when she was besties with Audrey, you felt like you had to pick a fave. Because I don't know why I always kind of felt that. Like, people were like, oh, I love Audrey. Oh, I love Hannah. You can't love them. It was like Brittany and Christina, but the scene version of that. And I'm like, I like them both. So this is her story, and she's focusing on herself, which is good. And I enjoyed it. Like, I really did enjoy learning about her childhood and the ups and downs of her childhood, because when I found out that she was a Nepo baby, I was like, oh, her life must have been perfect. She's a Nepo baby. No, she went through some stuff. And if you want to know what that stuff is, I guess read the book, because I don't want to spoil it. Timeline-wise, I think it's annoying how she doesn't mention the year in every chapter. I just think it would have helped to visualize, like I've said previously. All in all, my final note on Covered in Glitter by Hanna Beth. This book isn't what I expected. I expected it to be longer and have more insight into the MySpace days, and then maybe how she felt in the later years where she was climbing the social ladder. Again, bringing it back to the social ladder. I don't know if that's what it's called, but I feel like that's just the easiest way to say it. How she went from the MySpace days to now she's hanging out with Miley, now she's hanging out with Demi, now she's with Mod Sun. Like, you know, there was a point in her life where she was just pictured with all these people, and I'm like, what are you planning? Why are you doing this? It ends with a happy ending, which is good. It ends with a really nice message. Spoilers. It ends with her being like, you're perfect the way you are. You don't need to change anything. Which kind of, as you're reading this, you kind of understand that she's kind of, it sounds like a letter to herself, which I think is so beautiful and important. Okay, I did like the overall message. I know this video sounds like I'm just like shitting on this book. No, I love her and I love this book, and I probably will read it again. It's good. I enjoyed it. It was, I would give it maybe a 3 out of 5 just because it wasn't what I was expecting. Again, I was expecting more gossip, more tea, more, you know, I guess drama. But again, it's her life, so she's able to say whatever she wants. And like, I love that for her. But it just wasn't what I was expecting, but at the same time, I finished this book and I said, wow, I feel really inspired. So I really think, overall, like, the book is good. If you're a little teeny weenie, or whatever the hell you guys call yourself these days, I would say, go pick up Covered in Glitter by Hanna Beth. Go buy this book. I will put the link in the bio. And I guess hurry up, because she's doing a personalized signing thing for the next like 20 books, and once this book is sold out, you can't get it anywhere else, so I had to run to get it. And yeah, shout out to Hanna Beth. Big fan, even though this video sounds like I was just talking shit. Girl, I love you, and I appreciate that you sat down and wrote this book. And that's pretty much it.